today with the chair of our EPW committee and with my friend from Arkansas, Senator Bozeman. I'm going to speak again about another example of the bipartisan work of our EPW committee, where we've had accomplishments of real, practical, and positive results that result in good change for our country. At EPW, we have a history of working together, crafting legislation together and getting good policy going. And sometimes it's not easy, but we've been able to do it. The cornerstones of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which made needed investments in our nation's core infrastructure, was written and passed out of EPW. The Water Resources Development Act, same thing, which was supported by the U.S., supports the work of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers on projects across this country, was passed out of our EPW committee unanimously and eventually became law. And today, Chairman Carper, Senator Bozeman, and I are reintroducing two pieces of legislation previously approved by EPW and the Senate unanimously, both the committee and the full Senate, to tackle another issue in a bipartisan way, and that's access to recycling in America. Not only is recycling something that we found people really want to do, it's great for the environment and it's good for business. It supports over 1 million jobs and generates billions of dollars in economic output every year. But in order to grow these numbers, we need to ensure people who want to participate really can, particularly those in rural and underserved areas, such as areas of my state, so that they can do so. The first bill we're reintroducing today, the Recycling Infrastructure and Accessibility Act, addresses these challenges, which states like West Virginia face when it comes to recycling. For many of our smaller cities and towns, and the one I live in, we've sort of stopped and started on recycling. Recycling services, including curbside recycling, are just simply not available. So these rural areas share common barriers to accessibility: location and proximity to material recovery facilities, and the size and density of the population. This is just not available. This has led to low processing yields and high costs, and collection and transportation costs, making it difficult for material recovery facilities to operate at a profit. Our legislation would establish a pilot recycling program to ensure places like West Virginia, Arkansas, Wyoming, Alaska, to make sure that we aren't being left behind. The pilot program would award grants on a competitive basis to eligible entities for improving recycling accessibility in a community or communities within the same geographic area. Along with improving access to recycling, it's important to fix important data gaps, as the chairman spoke about, when it comes to recycling in America. That's the intent of the Recycling and Composting Accountability Act, the other piece of legislation we're introducing today. It would improve data collection on our nation's recycling systems and explore the potential of a national composting strategy. Not only would this give us a better idea of how well states are doing through cycling and composting rates, but it would also help us identify those areas that may be struggling to sustain and grow proper recycling programs. These are simple steps we can take, supported by both Republicans and Democrats, to improve and expand recycling in this country. Americans in every community, rural and urban, on the coasts or in the heartland, share a desire to protect our environment. These pieces of legislation will help make it easier for them to recycle, to contribute to a healthier planet, and to create jobs along the way. With Earth Day coming up, it's fitting we continue our efforts to expand recycling by reintroducing these bills today alongside Chairman Carper and Senator Bozeman, and I thank them both for their work. So, Madam President, and I informed the senator from Arkansas, but I need to inform Senator Carper that I'm having back-to-back speeches, so I'm going to totally change the topic here real quick before Senator Bozeman talks about recycling. So thank you for letting me move ahead here. I rise today to talk about an issue that is impacting every state in our nation, an issue that has the potential to impact every community, every family, and every person in the chamber today, and that is the drug and substance abuse crisis. My home state of West Virginia knows all too well about the scars that this crisis has created and the devastating toll that it takes. West Virginia ultimately, unfortunately, continues to lead the nation in overdose deaths per capita. That's a sad statistic for us. And although these deaths have been declining, every single overdose death is one too many. In 2020, we lost 1,197 West Virginians to overdoses. Data from our state health department indicates that over 80% of these deaths included an opioid. Our state's EMS teams responded to over 9,000 suspected overdose calls, and there were 6,916 emergency room visits related to overdoses. These numbers are just staggering and clearly show the continued and urgent need to address this crisis and the many forms that it comes in. This is certainly an issue that requires immediate attention from every level of government and deserves more than just 4 mentions in the President's most recent budget proposal. While I feel that the President and his administration lack that sense of urgency, ending the addiction crisis and taking action to serve countless lives remains one of my top priorities. Each time I meet with our northern or our southern U.S. attorneys in West Virginia, the drug crisis is by far the largest topic of discussion. Their offices see firsthand the amount of illicit drugs that are entering our state and work around the clock to remove the threat that these substances create in our communities. Like I've said in this chamber before, last October, our U.S. Attorney's Office of the Northern District of West Virginia recovered approximately 75 pounds of cocaine, 19 pounds of methamphetamine, and nearly 5 pounds of fentanyl in Wheeling, West Virginia on one bust. Investigators found that traffickers had these drugs shipped from the U.S.-Mexican border to Ohio via tractor-trailer and used cash payments to people who flew from California to Pittsburgh to move the cash back and forth. The connection between the crisis at our southern border and the drug epidemic we are seeing at home does not get any clearer than that. In December of last year, the DEA announced nationwide seizures of over 50.6 million fentanyl pills and more than 10,500 pounds of fentanyl powder. The DEA estimates that these seizures could represent 379 potentially fatal overdose, 379 million potential deadly overdoses of fentanyl. Excuse me. That is enough fentanyl to kill every single American, and these are just the drugs that they found. With the Border Patrol stretched unfathomably thin, there is no telling the amount of drugs that are getting through undetected. We know that these drugs are entering our country through the southern border, making their way into each and every state and wreaking havoc. If President Biden would get a little more serious about stopping this, I think he has to get serious about border security. In a crisis this urgent, it is time to act. I've spoken with the DEA administrator about the support they need and the challenges that they're facing. I've introduced legislation, led letters, and pushed for initiatives that inform the public of the dangers of fentanyl getting in the hands of our youth, that strengthen our investigations for fentanyl trafficking, and that prevent fentanyl and synthetic drug shipments from being smuggled into the United States through the mail. Currently, we're working on efforts to crack down and schedule the illicit drug xylazine, which I understand is also known as tranq. If you didn't know by now, xylazine is an easily accessible veterinarian tranquilizer that is being mixed with opioids, including fentanyl, increasing the number of fatal overdoses nationwide. This crisis is ever-changing, which means our approach needs to be multifaceted as well. I encourage the President, his administration, and all of our colleagues right here in the Congress to stay on this effort and stop the latest modifications before it is too late. Even in the midst of devastating losses in our state, I have always been inspired, encouraged, and moved by the efforts of people in West Virginia to end the drug crisis and help those in our state during the times when they need it the most. West Virginians continue to be responsible for the most innovative recovery solutions and prevention efforts that we have seen. The opioid crisis has made a personal, targeted impact on communities all across our state, and in turn, we've seen success through these community-based solutions. I've seen in Martinsburg, West Virginia, with a program that is a police, school, community, health, and education partnership working to prevent substance use disorders from ever happening to our youth. By building strong families and empowering the community, we build resiliency in children and families to help them overcome this horrible addiction. I've seen this in Carneysville, West Virginia, where they're building a recovery village so that individuals who are struggling with addiction receive access to family and community they definitely need. The detail focus is on housing and workforce development, aspects of recovery that are absolutely critical. I've seen drug court programs all across our state where West Virginians are building each other up, holding each other accountable, and giving those who struggle with addiction the chance for a life of recovery. You know, West Virginians take care of West Virginians, and there is no other issue that requires each and every one of us to work together quite like this one. So, President Biden, the drug crisis has created a dire situation in communities, not just across my state, but across the country. We've no time to waste. And every day of inaction results in turmoil and devastations for so many families and loved ones. We need to secure the southern border. We need to crack down on illicit drug trafficking and new tactics that criminals are implementing. And we need to deliver the tools our communities need to implement federal programs and develop those community-based solutions that we know work best. We must do this together. We must do it now. Countless lives depend on us. And with that, I yield the floor to my colleague from Arkansas, my fellow recycler, Senator Boozman. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Capito.